Hello and welcome once again to Mental Health Moments. This week we're going to be building on something that we started on the last thought that we believe it's going to be helpful to you. Last week we talked about dealing with toxic people, and we hope that information was helpful to you. But this week we're going to be building on that, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about something personal, toxic thoughts or toxic thinking. Now, as we say sometimes, maybe that's something that you don't deal with, but probably the majority of us do. According to the Cleveland Clinic, each of us have about 60,000 thoughts a day, and of those 60,000 thoughts, 95% of them repeat themselves throughout that day, and 80% of the repeated thoughts that we have are negative. That is an incredibly high number of thoughts that are toxic. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. In our previous video, we talked a lot about dealing with toxic people, and the unfortunate reality is that they are everywhere that we go. And in that video, we gave you 5 action points to deal with. If you haven't seen it, I would encourage you to go back and take the time to take a look at it this time. Again, as an extension of that thought that I thought would be helpful to you, it turns the focus a little more inwardly to us. And remember, as always, this is only a discussion starter. We're going to scratch the surface. We probably won't go as deep as you hope that we will. Toxic thinking. Let's try to define it. Toxic thoughts are false beliefs that negatively influence your life and the lives of those that are closest to you. I'm going to move forward with the idea that you understand the importance of thinking and right thinking and acceptable thoughts. And thinking is connected to your own self-worth. It's connected to your health, your wealth, your relationships, your own personal self-perceptions. Medical studies have proven that unhealthy thinking can directly affect your physical health, and so I'm not really going to go there very much, but toxic thinking is very prevalent and happens every time that we think a negative thought, and this is what it sounds like when you're thinking toxic thoughts. When you think to yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm not able, I don't have what it takes. There are always people, no matter what, that are much better at it than I am, so I won't even try. How about this? When you think within yourself, nobody cares, so it doesn't matter. Or how about this? Every time I try something, it fails, so why even bother with it? Or what about toxic thinking that sounds like this? If only I was blank, I would be happy. If I was him or her or there, I'd be happy. Or toxic thinking is connected to, what does everyone else think about me? Or my behavior isn't hurting anyone, so I'll just keep doing it. There are 100 others, and you probably have many. If you want to put some in the comments, maybe we shouldn't ask you to do that, but if you want to put some in the comments, you're welcome to do that. Toxic thinking happens when you personalize and internalize failure, when you bring it within yourself, when you live your life facing fear or rejection, failure, and avoiding risk, when the majority of your thinking is helpless, hopeless, and personal doubt. Toxic thinking is when you worry about pretty much everything and blame others for your own circumstances. And again, that list goes on and on and on. Toxic thoughts and toxic thinking. Remember, this channel brings together the spiritual, the mental, and the practical. So from time to time, I will reference a religious figure in my life. My pastor used to quote a proverb in Solomon and say, "As he thinks in his heart, so he is." And so your thinking directly has a connection to who you are and how you manifest your life. And the phrase that he used to always talk about was stinking thinking. You've probably heard that. Maybe you had a parent or a grandparent that cautioned you about that, maybe even a teacher. Don't get caught up in stinking thinking. When I established my counseling practice, as you can see from the sign behind me, I wanted to remember and remind everyone about this one, that what we're supposed to have is power, love, and a sound mind. A mind that is thinking the right way. So what do we do? Even though it's a very complex situation, I'm going to do myself hopefully a service by minimizing it. Oftentimes many reasons why you're thinking as you do and help you get to the root of it all. You probably want to speak to somewhere along the way. If you see that you have a problem with toxic thoughts or thinking, speak to a therapist, a counselor, or someone that you can trust. But this is a right now listing from accountability.com that I wanted to give to you. Just a few things. Number one, to combat toxic thoughts, number one, give thanks. This is the month of Thanksgiving, and so be thankful and count your blessings. You know, you'll find that as you start being thankful, everything can change. Before you address being negative and negativity in every circumstance, pause to just give thanks and count your blessings. Number two, before you start thinking toxic thoughts, look for what is good. Try to find a good thing. Keep things in a proper perspective. Things are rarely as bad as they seem. Sometimes they are. But consider problems as opportunity for possible solutions and look for good in every situation. You've been told that before. But when you deal with toxic thoughts, it's hard to do that because your mind continuously races to the worst first. Number three, see every situation as an opportunity to learn something. Again, in Proverbs chapter 9 and verse 9, Solomon said, "Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be still wiser. Teach a righteous man, and he will increase his learning." Number four, toxic thinking, stop yourself. And again, every time I say something like that, people always go, But if you have a tendency toward toxic thinking, there is a valid principle for being able to take control of those thoughts and stopping yourself before you start thinking them. I find that for myself, whenever I start thinking toxic thoughts, they begin to actually manifest. They begin to frame my reality. When I say I can't, that begins to frame my reality. I start to think that I really can't. If I say I always fail, then that makes failure an option. It opens the door for me to accept that. It takes time and it takes discipline, but eventually you can learn how to recognize toxic thoughts, and eventually through time, training, and experience, you can learn how to stop them and then replace them with something else, other thoughts and other words that are more productive to helping you in your life. So what are your thoughts? Do you, if you feel like being as honest as that, do you have a problem with toxic thoughts? Do you have a problem with toxic thinking? Maybe you present yourself day by day as a very positive person in a negative world, but that still doesn't exclude the fact that you deal with toxic thoughts in your own life. If so, let us know. Put that in the comments. What do you do? What are your thoughts? How do you deal with it? If you are a subscriber, we're glad to have you along with us. If you are not, we would love to have you join with us. Just press the like button, let us know. That means more than you think that it does. I say it every week, and sometimes you do, and many times people don't. But pressing that like button gets us into some kind of a YouTube algorithm, which helps us take this message a little bit further. We hope that the message of toxic thoughts has been helpful tonight, and as we often do, this week we're going to be dropping links along the way to help you with toxic thoughts and toxic thinking, but we would love to hear what you think. If you'd like to leave a comment in the message, we would love to see that. We hope this time together has been helpful. We look forward to seeing you next time right here on Mental Health Moments.